Hi, I'm Joe Gumbert with All Weather Roofing and Remodeling. We're here in Ingram, Texas at Stonehenge 2. Even though I might not know much about Stonehenge or Merlin himself, but what I do know about is insurance damage to your property.
So Joe, exactly what do you mean by insurance damage?
Well, that's a good question, Brent. Insurance damage is mostly what the insurance company considered a godlike action. Hurricanes, tornadoes, high straight wind, hail damage, and even freeze. But there's also crazy damages that are considered accident, like somebody drives their truck through your living room, or you end up with an electrical fire or even a gas fire.
Is that kind of an act of God, or maybe it's an act of a Colt 45, but anyway, malt liquor that is. So any kind of act of God, anything that you can make an insurance claim on would
Correct.
probably fit into that storm damage, right? Tell the folks how much this industry has changed with recent legislation and how it puts the homeowner in a position of having to make sure they manage their claim right out of the gates to make sure that what you always talk about is if it's not documented, they're not paying for it.
Well, that's another good question. I mean, the biggest thing with the legislature nowadays is your contractor can no longer work your claim, but he can document your damage for you. You either got to get an attorney or a public adjuster that can actually talk policy, but policy can also be talked as the actual consumer itself.
Well, and I'm a very free enterprise sort of guy. When you have a legislation like we've had in Texas a few years back, where the insurance carriers and the public adjusters are on the same side of the table of a new law, that tells you somebody's got to be on the other side of the table, because somebody's winning and somebody's losing. That's how we have legislated monopolies. And the average homeowner lost in that deal. And I'm basing that on my own personal claim that you helped me manage and you did the work on here just recently.
Well, and your claim was very unusual because you and I had a relationship prior to your home being hit with damage.
Right.
And so therefore I came out first, documented all your damage, and we sent in the scope at the same time you turned in your claim. So therefore the adjuster already knew what the damage was.
Oh yeah.
See, the bad misunderstanding on insurance adjusters is people have the assumption that the insurance company and the insurance adjuster has the last say. The problem with that is they only take a 3-day class to get that license.
Oh yeah.
And a month ago, they might have been packing your groceries at HEB. In other words, they don't have any knowledge of construction at all.
They're not a third generation roofer like yourself. And of course, you've put roofs on a lot of my commercial projects and stuff like that. So you're right. I knew the first thing I'm going to do is call Joe, because Joe knows storm damage. You came out, assessed the damage. And the great things, folks, is we already had, and basically kind of using the gold standard of how they assess damages and the valuations of it, a program called Xactimate. We already had it all laid out that we handed to them when they hit the ground running to come look at my house. And so to a certain degree, folks, the insurance company was having to dance to our tune, or they're having to play the music that was already on our sheet rather than them making up whatever song they want to make up.
Right. Well, and you take the example of a client that I had in 2020. They called me out. Their insurance estimated their actual job site damage as only being about $13,000. When I wrote up their estimate, it was $248,000. Well, I finally got a higher adjuster out there, and I swear she told me that she wasn't sure how to write up this claim.
Sure.
And so what they did is they called in a preferred contractor that worked for the insurance company that didn't have any meat in the game. In other words, he knew he wasn't doing the job.
Sure.
He wrote up a new estimate stating that it was only a $48,000 claim, which forced us and the homeowner to go and put a claim into appraisal. Well, once we got it into appraisal, we still settled at $198,000. That is over 300% increase.
Yeah, and let me kind of try and explain that appraisal process. Because of this new law, now when you have a disagreement as to what the scope of work is, how much the damage is, well, then there's a process that they go through called appraisal to try and determine what that scope of work is, and then it even goes, past that, and then eventually, if you can't agree, you end up in a lawsuit. But the thing that I did on my claim, the best thing I did was call you first. And I strongly suggest folks out there, if you've got storm damage, go in and assess that storm damage, but do that through Joe, who will give you a free assessment, or some other general contractor with a lot of storm damage experience, so that you know what the actual damage is from the perspective of the homeowner, so that now you're having a good bona fide discussion about the scope of work. And I guess if there's anything else that I can try and impart to the people, call Joe first.
Well, and keep in mind, when storm damage occurs, not just your roof got damaged.
Oh yeah.
And then if it's a freeze and you got water lines, then everything inside may be damaged.
Pool pumps, pool furniture, fences,
Yep.
air conditioners, stucco in
Windows.
my house, just all kinds of things gets hurt. So that's why you've got to do the first and foremost thing is assess that damage before you start the process of trying to interact with the insurance carrier, so that you have some scope of work already kind of laid out from which to talk to it. Well, Joe, thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Y'all have a great day.